You know, what if the key to understanding your own mind wasn't about cramming in more knowledge, but about learning how to just see what's already there? In this explainer, we're going to dive into some really powerful insights from meditation that offer a totally new way to relate to your thoughts, your feelings, and yeah, even your difficulties. Right out of the gate, our source gives us this fantastic piece of advice, and I just love it because it sets the perfect tone. This isn't about forcing yourself to understand everything right away. Nope. It's an invitation to just be open, be patient, and let these ideas kind of marinate, let them sink in.
Okay, so our first big theme is the absolute foundation of this whole practice. It's all about learning to observe your own mind without getting in the way. They call this skill bare attention.
Here's the thing. Genuine insight, that really deep aha moment of understanding yourself, it just can't happen if you're constantly messing with what you see. The goal is to develop a mind that can just watch, almost like a scientist observing an experiment, you know? Cool, unbiased, and not trying to change the results. So let's break this down. On one side, you've got our usual mode of operating. Judging everything, this is good, this is bad, analyzing, why am I feeling this? And always trying to fix our experience. But on the other side, that's bare attention. It's just watching, being objective, and allowing things to be exactly as they are. It's a huge shift from being a critic to just being a witness.
So what happens when you actually manage to do this? When you really step back and just look? What do you find hiding in the quiet corners of your own mind? Well, the answer might actually surprise you.
You start to see all this stuff that's been running the show behind the scenes. These fixed ideas you never knew you had, hidden wants, unseen fears, and all these secret hopes and unconscious expectations that are constantly coloring how you see the world. This is the inner landscape that quiet observation starts to reveal. Okay, so observing this inner landscape is one thing, but what do we do with that endless stream of thoughts and feelings that just keeps bubbling up? How do we navigate all this without getting totally swept away? Well, that brings us to our second key insight, realizing that your thoughts are not you. Look, we all need conceptual thinking to get through the day, right? But in this practice, we're asked to do something pretty radical, to see thinking itself as just another event happening in our awareness. It's not who we are, it's just something to be noticed, no different than hearing a sound or feeling a breeze. And the technique for this is beautifully simple. You don't have to fight your thoughts or analyze them to death. You just gently note, the mind is thinking right now. That simple act creates just a little bit of space, a little separation from the thought itself. And guess what? The exact same principle applies to our emotions. A feeling doesn't need an instant label or judgment. It can just be a feeling, a raw energy moving through you. This is such a subtle but powerful shift. We go from identifying with the whole story, this is an unpleasant feeling and I have to make it go away, to simply accepting the reality of the moment. A feeling is present. That little bit of acceptance, that's the key to not letting our feelings run our lives. Okay, so this leads us to a really counterintuitive but super powerful idea. What if difficulty and discomfort and all the stuff we spend our lives trying to avoid, what if those are actually the most essential ingredients for our growth? Yeah, the source material is pretty direct about this. Growth doesn't happen when we're comfortable. It happens when we find the courage to turn towards our challenges, using these very tools of observation instead of just habitually running away from them. And this is especially true for our inner challenges, what the source calls defilements. You know, those strong, sticky mind states like anger or greed or jealousy. The practice isn't about shaming ourselves for having them, it's about allowing them to be there, without acting on them, so we can get a rare chance to really investigate what they are. That investigation is how we loosen their grip on us. Here's a perfect example of how this works. It starts with something simple, like a feeling of dislike for someone. That feeling creates a little mental imprint, and suddenly, you're seeing that person through this fixed filter of dislike. And here's the crucial part. You're no longer seeing the actual person in front of you. You're just seeing your own mental projection. That's delusion in action. So the invitation here is to completely flip the script. Instead of meeting difficulty with resistance and avoidance, we can learn to meet it with curiosity,
What if you could become genuinely interested in your anger or your fear or your discomfort? What is this experience really before you slap a label on it?
So if we do all this, if we watch patiently, accept what comes up, and face difficulty with curiosity, what's the payoff? How does understanding or insight actually show up? And here it is, the big secret. Insight is not something you can manufacture. It's not something you can achieve through sheer force of will. It's something that just arises on its own, naturally and spontaneously, when the conditions are right. Think of it more like a fruit ripening on a tree, not a mountain you have to conquer. See, if you go hunting for insight, you just create a ton of tension, and your mind starts making stuff up just to please your ego. But if you simply allow it, if you maintain that open, observant state, true insight can pop up all by itself. It's kind of like the difference between chasing a butterfly with a net versus sitting still and letting it land on your shoulder. So in the end, the practice really boils down to this: keeping your mind open, resisting that urge to constantly jump to conclusions. It's all about maintaining a gentle, continuous observation and a thorough investigation into your own experience. These are the things that create the perfect conditions for understanding to finally blossom. And that leaves us with this one big question to take away from all this. It really captures the heart of the entire practice. What would you learn about your life, about your relationships, about your own mind, if you could just for a moment stop trying to fix or change your experience and instead simply become deeply, deeply interested in what is already there?